More people said the picture was sharper with Sony Betamax than VHS. So why doesn't anyone else talk sharper pictures? Because no one else can.
Long ago, in the days before the legendary streaming wars, physical media reigned supreme. But how did physical media rise to power? What's the differences between the many generations of physical media? Is Betamax better than VHS? Even in a world of streaming, does physical media still have a place in the world? As an avid collector of Blu-rays, and someone who aims to preserve movies that otherwise could get lost, I wanted to sit down and answer these questions. I also want to clarify that this isn't going to be an infomercial where I try to convince everyone to ditch streaming and swear allegiance to physical media. I just want to explore the history of the medium and show where it is now and where it began. This is the journey of home media. Japan, 1975. Betamax is invented by tech company Sony. This would be their crowning achievement until they would release Morbius 47 years later. In theaters, twice. Predating VHS by about 2 years, Betamax essentially had VHS beat in every category. It was smaller, had a slightly better resolution, and could record over 2 hours more footage. So why did Betamax die when VHS came into the scene and declared the very first format war? Well, the answer is quite simple, as well as quite irritating. You see, Sony is a company that wants you to only use Sony products. This means that you had to use a Betamax tapes only in a Betamax player made by Sony. The cost for a Betamax? $2,295 for better models, and only slightly under $2,000 for base models. This was steep, especially back then. That is when VHS came into the scene. Originally designed by Japanese company JVC in 1976 and brought to America in 1977, VHS tapes waged war against Betamax into the early 80s. This inferior home theater format had bigger box sizes than Betamax, worse resolution, and could only record 2.66 hours a tape. This meant when Titanic first hit VHS, you had to eject the tape when the boat snaps in half and put in a new tape, something that wouldn't have ever happened if Betamax was in control. Unfortunately, this wasn't meant to be. VHS came along with a cost of an average VCR going for $1,000 to $1,400. While this was still a lot, it's no doubt the more favorable price compared to Betamax. And while Sony treated Betamax like a child not allowed to play with anyone else, JVC tossed VHS into the playground, licensing it to companies such as Panasonic, Quasar, Magnavox, and RCA, and thus marked the sad end of Betamax, the real hero of the first format war. While VHS may have beat Betamax, another home media format would come around soon after to rival it. David Paul Gregg and James Russell invented LaserDisc technology in 1963, a new way to record video and audio using laser technology and discs instead of tape, allowing for more hours of content to be put in a single disc.
It has both picture and sound on it, similar to a CD, except that it has a picture aspect as well. What makes it different and more unique is that the soundtrack is both digital and analog. It has both tracks laid in at the same time, and is also considered to be probably the best single viewing medium that's out there today.
It would be MCA DiscoVision who would buy the Duo's patent and release the very first Laserdiscs on American shelves, starting with everyone's favorite fin to terror, Jaws. Laserdisc had many features that made it the go-to for cinephiles. You could go to any frame in the movie by entering the frame number on the remote. This is something that no system since has ever replicated. It would also instantly skip any scene that was damaged, whereas its successor, DVD, would simply stop the disc at damaged spots. The best part about LaserDisc were the special editions. Before LaserDisc, when you bought a movie, that's all you bought. Then, in 1984, Criterion Collection would release the first special edition LaserDisc for Citizen Kane. This allowed for bonus features, such as commentary, interviews, deleted scenes, and behind the scenes. These are some of the biggest reasons why physical media is still purchased today. The first Laserdisc player cost around $1,000, with the actual discs themselves going for around $100. That's about $350 adjusted for inflation. With the price being high, as well as limitations on the Laserdiscs themselves, such as having to switch sides just like a vinyl, as well as the discs themselves making lots of noise due to their weight being almost half a pound, all led to Laserdisc's downfall. The last American released Laserdisc was Martin Scorsese's Bringing Out the Dead in 2000. Japan would stop releasing Laserdiscs the year after. Pioneer, the company that merged Laserdisc players and CD players into one, would make Laserdisc players all the way into 2009. The next competitor in the format wars would come at the perfect time. That competitor being in 1995, Sony, Toshiba, and Panasonic invented digital video disc, or DVD. These small discs could hold more information than tape, as well as last much longer. They also negated the physical restrictions Laserdisc presented. They could include all the bonus features Laserdisc enthusiasts loved, while also having far superior picture and sound. While Laserdiscs were sold for $100, DVDs could be sold for only $20. This low cost meant studios could market their films directly to the consumer instead of a rental market. More profit for film studios, as well as more access to movies at home. A win-win for all. While the technology was invented in 1995, it was available in 1996 to Japan and 1997 in America. The first films Hollywood released on DVD would be Mars Attacks and Twister, a fun DVD double feature for sure. We're at the point in the video where we no longer have any more formats getting completely shut down. DVD is still popular today, many families raiding the Walmart $5 bins, and many movies are still trapped on DVD only. However, in terms of the formats being used today, DVD is the next to leave shelves. While they haven't stopped completely, Criterion Collection has started to phase out DVDs, with some of their new releases being Blu-ray and 4K only. Blu-ray DVD combo packs have begun turning into Blu-ray 4K UHD combo packs, or Blu-ray with a digital code inside. While DVD may be inferior to our current physical media, it was revolutionary and paved the way for where home media is today. (2006). This would prove to be a monumental year for physical media, as it would introduce not one, but two new formats. For the next format war, it's HD DVD versus Blu-ray.
Let them fight.
Toshiba released the HD DVD in 2006, starting with Million Dollar Baby, The Last Samurai, The Phantom of the Opera, and Serenity. HD DVD, or High Density Definition DVD, was a new upgraded disc format. It required an HD DVD player and had more storage space than DVDs. This allowed for higher sound quality, even uncompressed surround sound. Around the same time, working in the shadows was a group calling themselves the Blu-ray Disc Association. This cabal was trying to find DVD's successor for years. Sony launched a Blu-ray prototype in 2001, but in 2006 would mark when they roll out the real deal, alongside their Blu-ray player. They initially offered The Terminator, 50 First Dates, Triple X, House of Flying Daggers, The Fifth Element, Twister, Hitch, and Underworld Evolution. It's worth noting that the companies attempted to come to an agreement to avoid another marketing war, like what happened between Betamax and VHS, but alas, no common ground could be found. HD DVD was off to the races when they first began having more titles available than Blu-ray, at a cheaper cost as well. The first Blu-ray players were prone to bugging issues, as well as being too expensive. However, Sony had an ace up their sleeve. They had a PlayStation 3.
Well, well, well. How the turntables...
They revolutionized gaming and physical media forever by combining the two into one system that can play games as well as watch Blu-rays and DVDs. This would prove to be the absolute turning point in the format war. By 2007, Blu-ray was outselling HD DVD 2-1. Warner Brothers was the last major studio to sell to both formats, but it wasn't enough. In January 2008, Warner Brothers announced they would discontinue HD DVD and sell Blu-ray only. Instantly, major retailers such as Best Buy, Walmart, Future Shop, and Woolworths, I don't even know what that is, would stop selling HD DVD. Movie rental places such as Blockbuster and Netflix, more on them in a second, would also stop renting HD DVD. And in March 2008, Toshiba would stop making HD DVD players altogether. And thus the current reigning king of home media would be crowned, and all would be well. Shit, we have to talk about streaming. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is a video about physical media. Why are we talking about streaming? Well, I don't want to spend that much time on streaming. However, it is the main factor in why physical media is dying, at least in the mainstream. Streaming itself has a history as long and varied as physical home media. The idea for it dates back to the 1920s, when George O. Squier acquired patents for a system to transmit signals over electrical lines. It wouldn't be until 1995 that Microsoft would release Active Movie, which allowed people to stream media. In 1999, Apple would release QuickTime 4, followed by Adobe Flash in 2002. All of this was small potatoes compared to what Chad Hurley, Steve Chen, and Jawed Karim would create in their small office above a pizzeria/Japanese restaurant. They would create YouTube. This brought streaming to another level, and while it took a little while for YouTube to become mainstream, it's now the largest video sharing site in the entire world. While YouTube really kicked off video streaming, it would be a physical rental service that would elevate streaming services to new heights. It was time for Netflix to strike. We mentioned Netflix a little earlier in the same breath as Blockbuster. That's because years and years before Netflix would make not only a documentary on their failed rival Blockbuster, but also a full sitcom about it. They themselves were a rental company. People would go on their website and order DVDs and Blu-rays to be shipped to their house in the mail, and then you would send it back. In 2007, Netflix started a streaming service to stream movies they licensed straight to your TV. By 2010, it was the largest internet traffic source in North America. Today, Netflix not only has movies and shows from basically every major studio and network, but they also create their own content. In the last few years, many of their projects being nominated and winning numerous awards. Today, there are over 200 streaming services active, with nearly every household having at least one subscription. Hey there, I'm just popping in here. So, I wasn't originally going to show my face at all in the video, but about halfway through, I realized that I left out a very crucial aspect of this all. And that is that I never actually talked about how there are bad aspects of collecting physical media. For one, that they do take up a lot of space in your house. For instance, right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves, almost which are all full, which means that I'm going to need to get another shelf soon. Each shelf can usually go between $50 for pretty cheap average one to all the way up in a few hundreds for some of the nicer models, which can really be a setback, especially when you collect as much and you don't have the money to actually buy a new shelf. All of a sudden you just have stacks of movies sitting everywhere, which can get really annoying. A couple other bad aspects of some of these physical media is not every new generation is actually better than the older generation. We talked about how Betamax and VHS, how Betamax is technically better than VHS in almost every way. Well, take for instance this nice copy DVD of, there we go, of Tombstone. So yes, this copy of Tombstone has a bunch of really cool bonus features. It has a full commentary by the director and everything. It's got a million little bonus features and everything. The only reason that I only keep this DVD and I have not upgraded to a Blu-ray or a 4K yet, even though there is a Blu-ray currently available, is that the Blu-ray has no special features on the disc. It has, I think, a deleted scene or two, and that's it. There's no commentary or anything, which can get really annoying when newer generations should be adding on, not taking away, which is, it shouldn't be addition by subtraction. A couple other bad things about collecting physical media is packaging. This is just some old DVD I have of some Star Wars movie, but as you can see here, the disc literally falls out all the time. Half the time I can't get it to actually stick in there unless I really press it in. That could damage the disc. And that's because that little, one of the pieces that chips in just broke off. Didn't even come with it. And that happens a lot of times, especially when you just order a movie. Sometimes it will just come in and parts of the case itself will just be broken, which can really suck when you want your disc to sit nicely and instead it's rolling around everywhere. Another big issue with a lot of physical media discs is scratches. Wear and tear over time, it does happen, especially if the disc just sits in there long enough that if it just gets a scratch or something, it can screw up your entire movie experience. So you really have to make sure you're taking good care of everything, which can also be a drawback. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of bad things is prices. Prices for Blu-rays and 4Ks and steelbooks and collector's editions can be astronomically high. So recently I got a new steelbook. I got the steelbook for season 1 of House of the Dragon. It's coming in at the end of the month. And that, for a 1-season show, the steelbook was $50, which is extremely high for a show that I can literally just stream. Now, being a collector, that's more, I don't really need it, but it's more of a want. But at the same time, that is part of collecting. But take for instance this. These are some Leica Studios. They released all 4 of their big movies, Coraline, Box Trolls, Kubo and the Two Strings, and Paranorman. And they released every single one of those movies last year with these nice new additions, tons of bonus features, new transfers and everything. They all looked great. I rewatched them all when I got them. And after I pre-ordered all those and watched them all, they announced within the same year that they're dropping steelbooks for all of them now. And so I'm just like, why did you release these fully knowing that a lot of people are going to buy them, just to also know that you're going to be releasing new steelbooks within the same year? It's really annoying when some studios are treating people like they're pay pigs and that we're just going to keep giving them money for essentially the exact same product. So that's just a lot of the things I want to talk about and discuss in terms of some of the negative aspects of collecting physical media. I talked about negative aspects of streaming, I talked about negative aspects of all the other generations, but I never really got into some of the negative aspects of Blu-ray itself. Anyway, this is just a quick little intermission, something that I really thought I should get off my chest and make sure that I'm being fair to all the different physical media, not just ripping on a couple and then praising others. Anyway, back to the video.
Oh, I be loving me some Princess Diaries to the royal engagement. You got the Blu-ray. I got it on DVD and LaserDisc and VHS, man.
Where does physical media stand now? Does anyone still use it? Why would you ever bother having a collection of discs taking up space when nearly everything is on streaming? These are all valid questions, and in all honesty, they can be hard to answer. For the majority of households in America, streaming is perfectly suitable. For the rare case when a movie you want to watch isn't instantly available on HBO Max or Netflix, you can just rent it on Prime or even YouTube. So, what exactly is the driving force for me and many other people to continue collecting physical media? Well, there are a number of reasons that also differ for many people. Some just enjoy the pretty artwork that labels such as Criterion Collections, Scream Factory, and Arrow Video provide. Some of these special covers and cases that companies make are just outstanding, and it shows a real dedication to releasing the best editions they can. Many other companies pride themselves with amazing steelbook designs for Blu-rays, a new way to encase movies in nice slick steel packaging. It isn't only boutique labels like Mondo and Scream Factory who make nice steelbooks. Some big name studios, such as Lionsgate, show real dedication to the art of physical media. Their steelbooks have translucent slipcovers with art that mixes in with the steelbook itself. They also include films from their entire catalog, from newer releases like La La Land to older films like Kurosawa's Ran. There's also the special features that come with home media. These range from gag reels and deleted scenes on a regular disc to sometimes entire documentaries on how they made the movie. Movie commentary is a huge reason people buy physical media, to hear people who made the movie talk about it. I mean, just check out this scene from the Armageddon commentary and tell me that this isn't comedy gold.
Asked Michael why it was easier to train oil drillers to become astronauts than it was to train astronauts to become oil drillers, and he told me to shut the fuck up. So that was the end of that talk. He was like, Ben, just shut up, okay? This is a real plan, all right? I was like, you mean it's a real plan at NASA to train oil drillers? He was like, just shut your mouth.
This copy of the Scream trilogy was only $15, and not only did the three movies have special features on the disc, but it also came with two feature-length documentaries on the films. This copy of Apocalypse Now has every cut of the movie and the documentary on how they made it, Hearts of Darkness. Blu-ray also has larger storage space, so unlike DVD, most of the time special features will all be on the same disc as the film itself. Going into more technical reasons, now we have the emergence of the lossless audio track. This is something for people who truly want the best audio in their films, which theoretically should be everyone. This is a feature that DVD could never achieve, and certainly no streaming service provides because of the storage on the disc. Well, maybe you don't have surround sound or a nice sound setup, and you don't notice the lossless audio that much. Another huge technical win for Blu-ray is having HD video. The jump in picture quality from DVD to Blu-ray is the largest between any two formats, even more so than VHS to DVD. Even people less attuned when it comes to audio quality in Blu-ray would have a hard time disproving the drastic change in resolution between DVD and Blu-ray. Streaming services like Netflix make you pay more monthly for higher picture quality just to attempt to match the standards that Blu-ray set. Now, earlier I mentioned a few boutique labels, and that really brings me to my final point. The preservation of movies is important. Movies are a part of our past as a species and can be an amazing resource into snapshots of history and especially to see how far we've come culturally. There are movies that will never be found, footage that has long since been destroyed or lost to time. But no one works harder to make sure film isn't gone than boutique labels. These can include Arrow Video that makes waves with cult cinema, bringing that back from the dead, to the always classic Criterion Collection, bringing so many movies from around the world to one place alongside incredible 4K transfers and many bonus features. Some of their movies even boast 3 to 4 different audio commentary tracks. Scream Factory is one of my personal favorite labels, with a massive catalog of horror films and amazing sets with completely original art. One of the weirder but most fascinating new labels is Vinegar Syndrome, which curates many films that have never even gotten off VHS, if they even got a home media release at all, and resurrecting them with amazing looking sets chock full of special features. Physical media, and Blu-ray especially, are not dead. While they are being shuffled out of stores, even some Best Buy is now getting rid of their collection of discs completely, the sale of home media is still a big factor in a movie's success. Maybe not a financial factor, but the avid collectors of home entertainment will always be there, making sure that these movies are talked about more and more. The world of collecting physical media is vast and varied. From entire Facebook groups dedicated to showing off collections and building a community of like minded individuals, to social media accounts such as Discfather that exist solely to notify people on upcoming releases and different labels. Many YouTubers enjoy showing off their collections as well, such as Dan Merle. Probably the best example is Films at Home, who not only has a channel and podcast, but he goes over the very technical differences, pros, and cons of new 4K transfers. Even if streaming has taken over as the go-to option to watch a movie, I will always turn to a physical copy when given the chance. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video.